Imagine waking up and checking your bank account, and for the first time in your life, you feel completely calm. No anxiety, no what if scenarios running through your head. You are not rich in the Instagram flex way, you're rich in the I can breathe way. That's what these three net worth milestones give you. But if you chase the wrong numbers or hit them in the wrong order, you will burn out before you ever get there. So here's what's coming up. First, the three net worth milestones that actually matter. And the first one is way more achievable than you think. Then, whether these numbers are realistic for you, they are if you hit them in the right order. And finally, what being rich actually means when you reach all three. It's not about yacht, it's about something way better. You know as well, most people are running a financial marathon without any idea where the actual checkpoints are. They just keep running, getting exhausted, wondering why they are not making progress. Think about it like this. If you're running a marathon, there are specific mile markers that matter more than others. Mile 5. That's where you grab water. Make sure your pace is sustainable. Mile 13, halfway point, where your training either shows up or it does not. Mile 20, the point where your body wants to quit, but you're close enough that momentum carries you through. Here's what happens to most runners. They skip the mile 5 water station because they're so fired up to get mile 13. They think, I will hurt it later. I want to make time. And then they collapse at mile 18. Never even make it to the finish. Net worth works exactly the same way. Everyone's obsessed with the finish line, the $1 million mark. They see it on Instagram, hear about it on podcasts, think that's the only number that matters. So they skip the earlier checkpoints, try to sprint straight to the end, and they burn out every single time. These three milestones, they're not random numbers someone made up to sound smart. They are structural necessities. Each one unlocks specific capabilities that you literally cannot access without hitting the one before it. Miss a checkpoint and the whole system breaks down. The difference between people who actually build sustainable wealth and people who just stress about money for decades. It's not about income, it's not about luck. It's hitting these milestones in the right order and understanding what each one actually does for you. So let's break down what these checkpoints are, why they matter, and how you're going to hit each one without losing your mind in the process. This is the number that changes you from financially fragile to financially stable. And most people completely skip it. $10,000. That's it. There's your first real milestone. And I know what you're thinking. That's not rich. That's barely anything. Exactly. That's the point. This isn't about being rich. This is about not being broke anymore. There is a massive difference. Here is what $10,000 in net worth actually represents. It's your emergency fund plus the beginning of actual assets. It's the buffer between you and disaster. It's a thing that means when your car breaks down, you don't have to choose between fixing it and paying rent. When you lose your job, you don't panic on day one. This is your water station at mile 5. And just like in marathon, if you skip this checkpoint, you will not make it to the next one. I don't care how motivated you are. I don't care how much you hustle. Without this foundation, you're running on fumes. Let me tell you what life feels like before you hit this number. Every unexpected expense is a crisis. Your check engine light comes on and your stomach drops. You get a medical bill and you're immediately doing math in your head. What can I pay? What can I not pay this month? You're making financial decisions based on fear, not a strategy. You're fragile. Yeah, fragile. And here is the thing about being financially fragile. It's exhausting. You can't think long term because you're constantly dealing with short term emergencies. You can't invest because you might need that money next week. You can't take any risks because you have zero margin for error. Your entire financial life is reactive. Something breaks, you react. A bill comes, you react. An opportunity shows up and you can't even consider it because you're stuck in survival mode. Now here is what changes when you hit $10,000. The anxiety starts to quit down. Not completely, you're not rich yet, but that constant low-level panic, it fades. You start making decisions differently. Someone offers you a slightly better job that requires moving, you can actually consider it because you have moving costs covered. You see an opportunity to learn a new skill. You can invest in it because you're not worried about your rank check bouncing. This milestone unlocks the ability to think past next month. That's what it does. It gives you breathing room to actually build wealth instead of just surviving. You shift from playing defense to playing offense. Let's talk about how achievable this actually is. Because I know some of you are thinking, cool, but I'm starting from zero. How long is it going to take? If you can save $200 a month, you will hit $10,000 in about 4 years. That is $50 a week. One fewer dinner out, skipping a few subscriptions you don't use, selling the stuff you don't need. If you can push it to $400 a month, you are there in 2 years. And if you get a side hustle going or a raise and hit $800 a month, you are at $10,000 in just over a year. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's doable. There's a difference, and the timeline matters less than the consistency. Someone who saves $100 a month every single month for 5 years will hit this milestone. Someone who saves $500 one month and then nothing for 6 months never will. Even if you're making $40,000 a year and living in an expensive city, $200 a month is about 6% of your take-home pay. It's tight, yeah, but it's not impossible. And here's what most people don't realize. Once you start hitting small wins, you find more money. You get better at saying no to waste. You start seeing opportunities to earn more because you're not drowning anymore. The specific behaviors these milestone unlocks are massive. You stop living paycheck to paycheck. You can negotiate better because you're not desperate. You can start learning about investing because you have a foundation to invest from. You can turn down bad opportunities because you're not forced to take whatever comes your way. Here's a psychological shift that happens. And this is the part nobody talks about. When you hit $10,000, you start seeing yourself differently. You're not just someone who wants to build wealth. You're someone who has built wealth. It's small, yeah, but it's real. It's proof that you can do this, proof that the system works, proof that you're capable of more than just getting by. Most people never hit this milestone because they're too busy chasing the million. They think $10,000 isn't worth celebrating. They think it's too small to matter, and that's exactly why they stay broke. This is your foundation. Everything else you're going to build sits on top of this. Skip it and the whole thing collapses. But here's the thing, 10K gets you stable. It does not get you free. That's where the next checkpoint comes in. And this is the one that's a massive game changer. This is the number where wealth starts building itself, but only if you build the foundation first. $100,000. This is where everything changes. Not because you're suddenly rich, but because the math starts working in your favor instead of against you. Here is what most people don't understand about $100,000. It's not just 10 times bigger than $10,000. It's a completely different game. This is the mathematical tipping point where compound growth becomes visible, where you can actually see your money making money. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's right-hand guy for decades, said the first $100,000 is the hardest, and he's right. But not for the reason most people think. It's not harder because you need to save more. It's harder because you're doing all the work. At $10,000, you're building momentum from zero. At $50,000, you're grinding. But at $100,000, your money starts doing some of the heavy lifting. Let me break down the math. If you have $100,000 invested and it grows 8% a year, which is roughly the stock market's historical average, you make $8,000 that year without doing anything. That's $667 a month just from your money existing. Now compare that to when you had $10,000. Same 8% return gives you $800 for the whole year. You can barely feel it. This is why $100,000 is the momentum accelerator. Below this number, you are the engine. Above this number, compound interest becomes a second engine. You're still working, still saving, but now you have got help. It's like you have been pushing a boulder uphill by yourself, and suddenly someone shows up and starts pushing with you. But here's where people mess up. They hit $100,000 and immediately think, I made it. They upgrade the car, they move to a nicer place, they start living like they are rich because the number feels big. And then they wonder why they're stuck at $100,000 5 years later. They turn off the momentum right when it was starting to build. The specific opportunities that unlock at this level are massive, but only if you don't blow it on lifestyle inflation. At $100,000, you can start investing differently. You have enough capital to diversify properly. You can calculate risks because you have a cushion. You want to start a side business. You have got runaway. You want to switch careers. You can afford a few months of lower income while you transition. This is where career flexibility shows up. You are not trapped anymore. A toxic job, you can leave. An opportunity that pays less now but has huge upside later, you can take it. You have options, and options are worth more than most people realize. Options let you say yes to the right things and no to everything else. Let's talk about the timeline. Because this is where people get discouraged. From $10,000 to $100,000 take longer than most people expect. And that's actually okay. If you're saving $1,000 a month and getting an 8% return, you will hit $100,000 in about 6.5 years. If you're saving $500 a month, it takes closer to 11 years. I know that sounds like forever, but here's the thing. Those years are happening whether you're building wealth or not. The question is whether you show up in 2030 and 2035 with $100,000 or whether you show up with nothing because you have gave up in year 3. And here is what people don't tell you. It gets faster as you go. The first $10,000 might take you 3 years. The next $10,000 might take 2 years. The jump from $50,000 to $100,000 happened faster than the jump from $0 to $50,000 because growth compound is finally kicking in. Every dollar you add gets multiplied by time and returns. The math starts favoring you instead of fighting you. The identity shift at this level is huge. You are not trying to build wealth anymore. You are building wealth. There's a difference. You are not hoping it works. You are not watching it works. You check your accounts and you see real growth. Not just the money you put in, but the money your money made. You start to believe in a way you could not before because now you have proof. But here's the trap. Common mistakes at this milestone will destroy everything you built. The biggest one is lifestyle inflation. You start making more money, you hit 6 figures in net worth, and suddenly you feel like you deserve to spend more. And you do, but not as much as you think. If you let your expenses rise as fast as your net worth, you're just running in place with a nicer view. The second mistake is wrong investments. People hit $100,000 and think they need to get fancy. They start day trading. They invest in their birdie's crypto scheme. They buy individual stocks because they think they are smart enough to pick winners. They are trying to beat the market instead of just staying the course with boring index funds. And they lose years of progress chasing returns that almost never show up. This milestone only works if you build it on the first one. If you skip $10,000 and somehow lucked into $100,000 inheritance, bonus, whatever, you do not have the habits to keep it. People who build to $100,000 slowly know how to not lose it. People who get it fast usually do not. The habits matter more than the number. Patience at this stage compounds into everything that comes next. You're not at the finish line, but you can see it from here. Now 100K is where things start to feel different. You have got momentum, you have got options, but you're not free yet. And that's exactly what the third milestone gives you. This is the number everyone talks about, but almost nobody explains what it actually buys you. $1 million. The finish line. The number that has been in your head since you started thinking about money. But here's what nobody tells you. $1 million does not make you private jet rich. It does not mean you're buying yachts or retiring to an island. What it does give you is something way more valuable than that. It gives you freedom. Let me explain what $1 million actually means in practical terms. There is this thing called the 4% rule. It's a guideline that says you can safely withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio every year without running out of money. So if you have $1 million invested, that's $40,000 a year. Every year without working. Now $40,000 a year isn't yacht money, but it's freedom money. It means you can cover your basic expenses without a job. It means you can take a year off to figure out what you actually want to do. It means you can work because you want to, not because you have to. That's what financial independence actually looks like. And here is the critical part. This milestone only works if you build it on the first two. If you jump straight to $1 million without the foundation of $10,000 or the momentum of $100,000, you don't have the skills to keep it. You have not built the habits. You have not learned how money actually works, and you will lose it faster than you think. But if you climb through $10,000 and ground your way to $100,000 and kept going, by the time you hit $1 million, you're a completely different person than when you started. You know how to make financial decisions. You know how to avoid stupid mistakes. You know how to let your money work instead of constantly chasing it. So let's talk reality. Is $1 million enough to make you rich? Depends on what you mean by rich. If rich means never worrying about money again, never having to work, doing whatever you want, then no, $1 million isn't rich. You are not buying Lamborghinis and beach houses. But if rich means you have options, you have security, you have the freedom to design your life instead of just accepting whatever comes your way, then yes, $1 million absolutely makes you rich. It's freedom rich. It's sleep at night rich. It is make choices based on what you want, not what you need rich. What changes in your daily life at this level? Everything and nothing. You still go to the grocery store, you still pay bills, you are not living some completely different existence. But the weight is gone, the anxiety is gone, you are not making decisions out of fear anymore. Someone offers you a job that pays half what you make now, but is actually meaningful. You can take it because you are not dependent on that paycheck. You want to move to a different city, you can. You want to take 6 months off to travel or write a book or spend time with family, you can. The $1 million isn't sitting there so you can buy stuff. It's sitting there so you can buy your time back. Now here is a big question. Can someone starting from $0 actually get here? And the answer is yes. But you need to understand the math. If you save and invest $1,000 a month at an 8% annual return, you will hit $1,000,000 in about 25 years. If you can push it to a $1,500 a month, you are there in about 20 years. I know that sounds like forever, but think about it this way. 25 years from now, you are either going to be 25 years older with $1,000,000 or you are going to be 25 years older with nothing. The time is passing either way. The question is what you do with it. And here is what makes this realistic. You're not saving $1,000 a month for 25 years at the same income. You're getting raises, you're advancing in your career, you're starting side hustles. Your income grows, which means your saving rate grows. Most people who hit $1,000,000 didn't save the same amount every year. They saved what they could early on and ramped up as they made more. Plus, compound growth accelerates as you go. The jump from $800,000 to $1,000,000 happens way faster than the jump from $0 to $200,000. By the time you are in the financial stretch, your money is doing most of the work. The biggest myth is about millionaires, that they are flashy, that they drive expensive cars and wear designer clothes, live in massive houses. The reality is the opposite. Most millionaires are boring. They are consistent. They live below their means. They invest the difference. They don't look rich because they are not trying to look rich. They are actually building wealth instead of faking it. Here is what's wild about reaching the finish line. It's not actually the finish line. It's just a new beginning. Because once you hit $1,000,000, you realize the goal was never the number. The goal was the person you had to become to get there. The discipline, the patience, the ability to delay gratification, the skill of making smart decisions over and over again for years. $1,000,000 does not change your life because of what you can buy with it. It changes your life because what you can become in the process of building it. And that is something nobody take away from you. So here is a complete picture. All three milestones work together as a system. $10,000 give you stability. $100,000 give you momentum. $1,000,000 give you freedom. Skip one and the whole thing brags. Hit them in order and you will build something that actually lasts. This isn't about getting lucky. This isn't about timing the market or finding some secret strategy. It's about understanding the checkpoints, hitting them in order, and trusting the process long enough for it to work. Now here is the beautiful part about these three milestones. You might actually be closer to one of them than you think. That's exactly what I break down in this video right there. The 9 signs you're secretly getting rich, even if you feel broke. I promise you at least 3 of these are going to surprise you. Watch the next. I will see you there.